So Grinders Cool, Colossos here with a short video, and today I'm going to talk about Ace King, one of the most discussed hands in Texas Hold'em. I've got my stats up right here from at least my live play that is my play that is in my database at 6 max 10 and I have filtered for the hands where I have Ace King suit or Ace King offsuit. The point that I want to make here today is to show you guys that when you're not making a lot of money with Ace King, you're probably doing something wrong. This video is specifically going to talk about the Microstakes, as Ace King does get played quite a bit differently once you get at higher stakes. You have to keep one really golden rule in mind, is that Microstakes in general play loose passive. When somebody is 3-betting, 4-betting you pre-flop, your Ace King is more than likely not good depending on your opponent. And I'm gonna show you a lot of examples how I play Ace King. And I'm also gonna give you some general guidelines in in deciding whether or not you are getting it all in pre-flop with Ace King, or whether you're calling it 3-bet with Ace King, whether you're making a 4-bet, or even when you're folding versus a 3-bet, even a single 3-bet with Ace King. There's a lot to talk about the specific hands, which probably we cannot cover in one short video here. So it's about 100,000 hands in total, and I got dealt 1,300 times Ace King or Ace King suited. I win in general one big bet each time I get Ace King dealt, at least at 10-0. You can see my VPIP here is 95. Like most of the time, I obviously am in the pot with Ace King. Pre-flop raise is not 100%, it's even 77%, so a lot of the times I'm also just calling a raise pre-flop with Ace King. I'm gonna tell you the reasons or why I do it and when I do it. I don't want to get too much into the stats I'm showing you, so you can filter for yourself. You can easily do it. Get your database up, filter for Ace King offsuit. I'm gonna show you quickly some stats here. I don't know why my bottom part of the graph shows the entire my entire hands at 10-0, but here on the bottom you can see that my VPIP is 95, pre-flop raise 77. I 3-bet Ace King about 40% of the time, which isn't a lot. Aggression factor, aggression frequency. I see that the flop 70% of the time with Ace King, so I'm playing Ace King at the Microstakes rather passive, in the sense that when I do get the money in, usually I am crushing my opponent. And how do I do that? By disguising my range pre-flop. What else can I show you? Positional stats. I'm gonna quickly show you them. I'm not gonna go over them. You can compare them with your own stats. If you have any questions about them, you can always post them in this thread. If you give it a minute, it will load my positional stats with Ace King. And what else can I show? I'll show you the graph. Everybody likes to see graphs with Ace King. Maybe with Ace King, you can see that actually a lot of my money is made in small pots, but you can't draw any definite conclusions about that, because the same thing happens with aces and aces. I mean, it's the best hand you can get dealt. Ace King is a really good hand, and if you play it well, it should make you a lot of money. So I am going to go over a few examples. Let's see what we have here. All the hands should be pretty recent. I try to select them because I used to play ace king pre-flop a lot more aggressive than nowadays. One of the reasons is that the games got more aggressive, so the time that you can 4-bet ace king or 4-bet or just shove as of ace king for value pre-flop isn't the case anymore, because people know the game, and they know that when people 4-bet, usually they put your range on aces, kings, and ace king, and this is going to be really important. So let me first go over 4 things that I check when I get dealt ace king. First of thing is obviously my position. I will 3-bet ace king a lot less from the blinds than I would from any other position. Reason being, you're just gonna be out of position. You're gonna get called a lot pre-flop depending on your opponent's position, and you're gonna have to hit the flop most of the time, because people at the microstakes are loose and passive. They're typical calling stations, so you're gonna have to hit the flop, and it doesn't happen that often that you get your ace or your king on the flop. It's about 1 in 3 times, I believe, you'll get an ace or a king. Anyway, so your position should be really important, and what's also really important, what does it look like when you're 3-betting? For instance, when I am in the small blind and under the gun opens and I have ace king, I will be less inclined to 3-bet because your range looks so much stronger, and the guy who raises under the gun knows, oh, Colossos is 3-betting me from out of position versus my under the gun open. I'm putting his range on aces, kings, ace, king, queens, and actually he's right. And when they can put you on such a narrow range, they have position, they're gonna have the advantage in the hand, because what's going to happen is the flop comes ace high, you're gonna see bet and you take it down, because he knows that a big part of your range is ace king. That's why 3-betting, as a side note, that's why 3-betting with hands like 7-8 suited is very fine, is very nice, because on ace high flops you can actually represent the ace really well, and that's why I am a big advocate of rather 3-betting 7-8 than ace 4, for instance. Okay, but anyway, let's continue. This was a side note. So position, what does your 3-bet look like? Also, your opponent and his stack size is really important. I will, for instance, if under the gun opens and he's got a $3 stack, we're playing, or less than a $3 stack, we're playing 10-0. He opens, I will 3-bet from the small blind, and I will make it like 140 and shove any flop. Why will I 3-bet that short stack? Because the hand play is really easy. Against the deep stacked, I'm gonna have to hit the flop really well. Against the short stack, I don't have to hit the flop when he's this short. I can 3-bet and shove the flop, and it's just the same as getting it all in pre-flop, with the added advantage that you actually might have folding equity pre-flop, and you have folding equity on the flop. And if he hits the flop, well, so be it. He made a wrong play. Let's say he called you pre-flop with Jack 9, and he hit the Jack on the flop. Well, good for him. You still have 6 outs, so no problem. So we have position, we have what does your raise look like, we have your stack size of your opponent. Obviously your opponent himself also matters, but I'm gonna discuss this when I'm going over the different type of hands. And what I also want to say, mention here, is post flop. I am going to look how often people continuation bet. So usually when I have ace king, and let's say I'm on the button, under the gun opens, I'm checking his continuation bets, I'm checking how aggressive he plays it, how aggressive he usually plays post flop. The less aggressive they play post flop, the more likely I am to merely call, because even if I don't take my ace or a king, I can easily take it away from them post flop if I have position. Anyway, if you couldn't follow all the points that I consider, just write them down on notes and put them on a post-it and put it on your computer screen. I used to do this a lot when watching videos, writing stuff down on post-its and putting them on my screen while I was playing, and there was some dead time I was reading them, and it's really neat stuff to learn, because watching videos passively is like throwing away all the nice value there is in the videos at Griner School. Okay, I have ace king suited here in this hand, and I'm in the big blind. Let's see what happens. A 29-24 type of guy raises from the cut off. Now, only 21 hands, but we can already see that 29-24, it's not a guy who is playing 14-10. So, against that guy, I'm probably merely calling pre-flop. Basically because he seems 29-24, yes, he opens a lot, but let's take a look. Folds to 3 bets, well, 2 out of 3 times, it's close. I would 3-bet versus that guy like 50% and 50% against the guy I would merely call, just because he doesn't seem like a guy who's going to fold a lot to your 3-bets, and it seems like a guy who is going to be post-flop, he's going to have position, and he's going to play fairly decent. But what happens is that the small blind decides to make the call here, and when I have ace king in this situation, I will raise it up because it looks so bluffy. This guy, Spirit FC, is going to say, oh my, this guy is doing this probably light because he's squeezing. He knows the concept of squeezing, and he thinks, okay, Colossus is squeezing here, so either I'm gonna call with a weaker range like ace queen, ace jack, king queen, or stuff like this, or he might actually say, okay, let's make it 2.5 and see what it does. By the way, if he makes it 2.5 here, with the information that we have, is 29-24. I don't know if I've 3-betted in this session before. I've 3-betted in maybe once. I am probably no, I am shoving it in. If he makes a 4-bet here, I don't know what happens. He makes the call. We flop our ace. I'm betting 170. Standards, pretty standard. It's a little bit over half the pots, a little bit bigger. There are some flush draws out, and basically on this board, he is only going to call me when he has something like ace queen, ace jack. But I can induce a lot of bluffs by not making, when I make it like 250 here, it's ridiculous, because I mean, I am blowing him out of the pot, and I believe his range here is going to be way wider than just ace queen and ace jack. So, oh, he does shove it in. I call, and he shows up with ace queen, so I take down a nice pot. Now, let's say I play it differently. Okay, let's say I just call pre-flop. Oh no, but I would have only called when VG Wang wouldn't be in the pot. So, one of the reasons is because it looks bluffy. It looks like something squeezy. So if I do get 4-bet, I'm a lot more happy getting it in there than if I would 3-bet and get 4-bet without VG Wang calling. If that makes any sense. Anyway, so let's say Spirit FC. Let's go back. Raises his pre-flop. VG Wang folds. I merely call. Flop comes ace 7-3. I would check to him, definitely. He's going to see that this ace high flop with his pretty entire range. I will, a guy like this, a guy playing 29-24, I will check raise him here on the flop. Reason being is that I'm really representing nothing. He thinks, okay, ace king, he would 3-bet pre-flop, he probably thinks, so he's kind of negating that from my range. He's negating like aces from my range, so I'm representing pocket sevens and pocket threes when I'm check raising that flop, or a bluff or some flush draw. So I see guys doing the weirdest stuff when they think that you're full of it. I see guys a lot of the time shoving here with complete air, with something like pocket sixes here, just because they think that you're full of it. So I would definitely not have played it passively post flop when I play it passively pre-flop. So keep this in mind. Let's say the flop comes 9-7-3. I immediately call pre-flop. The flop comes 9-7-3. He c-bets. I'm done with the hand. Ooh, I had ace king. You're not. I mean, I don't care. I was out of position. I was against the guy who probably wouldn't have folded to a 3-bet. There was no dead money. It didn't look like a bluff. Normally, I'm not 3-bet happy from the blinds. So mainly when I do 3-bet, it's for value. And for a lot of people at the Microstakes, it is this case. So keep that in mind when next time you do get 3-bets, or when you're deciding 3-bets. Okay, I'm gonna go over the hands a little bit more quickly but there's so much to say about ace king. It's amazing. Okay, let's see what happens here. Ace king, small blind, obviously. Okay, this is blind versus blind situation. Blinds versus blinds. I steal his big blind. People go crazy blind versus blind. I would never call here from the small blind, unless the guy is like 8-4 or something. But I have 6 hands on him. He's 17-17. I hope I do not call here. No, I did shove it in. Oh, I can see why I shoved it in. This is 2009. This hand. Okay, the game's played a lot differently back then. Here, when I shove it in, you could easily get called by ace jack. Hell, you get called by jack 10. Here in 2009, I shoved it in. I don't really hate it actually. Even nowadays, nowadays you're only gonna get called by aces, kings, and queens, and ace king. Because, yeah, I don't know the game. Yeah, it's 2000. It was in 2009. I don't hate the shove actually. I mean, if I 4-bet, I'm never folding versus a raise essentially. So this shoving looks kind of weaker. And I actually might get called by ace queen, ace jack, some crap like, I don't know, king queen, who knows. Obviously when he calls here and he has aces or kings, I say, okay, well, so be it. If I 4-bet and he shoves, I'm also calling and he has aces or kings, so that's... So he calls and yeah, well, I mean, it was 2009. I don't know if this would still happen. It's blind versus blind, so a lot of people do crazy stuff, but I'm definitely playing the ace king a lot more aggressive pre-flop when it's blind versus blind. And that's what I mean by my second point that I was making, whether to deciding to 3-bet ace king or not, is what does it look like. When I'm stealing here from him, it looks like a bluff. When he 3-bets me, it looks like somebody who says, oh, he's stealing from me, I will 3-bet him. You can obviously call, but I have ace king and I'm out of position. If no ace or king comes on the flop and he c-bets in a 3-bet pot, I'm going to have to give up. So I rather than just shove all in and make him a ridiculous call with like ace queen or even pocket sixes. Against his range you're doing pretty fine, and also you have a lot of folding equity. And keep in mind that a hand like jack queen has like almost 35, no, even, yeah, it has 35% of equity if he makes the call. So even if he folds, it's a pretty good situation. Okay, let's go this one, ace king. Okay, oh, here, look at this. I merely call. Somebody raises from under the gun. His stats, I actually have 62 hands on him. It seems kind of 21-13 is on the type of, he only raises 13% of the time, which isn't a lot. So, and now he's raising from under the gun. If I 3-bet him here, it doesn't look like I'm bluffing. Basically, when I'm 3-betting here, it's for value, because he raised under the gun and nobody, well, never say nobody, but usually people don't 3-bet. The general population doesn't 3-bet and under the gun open very light. I just lost my train of thought, so I merely called here. I have position, and the flop comes ace high. I hope I check raise here, because that would be, yeah, and I do it. I raise him here. It's exactly what I told you in the first hand. It's not because I play ace king passively pre-flop that I cannot play it aggressively post-flop, especially when I hit, obviously. Because people at the Microstakes, and I know people at the Microstakes, their biggest problem is they are loose and they are passive. If he has ace 4 here, he's not folding. Believe me, he's not folding. People just cannot fold for a raise here, even with ace 4. And that's what I want. But if I 3-bet him pre-flop, he's gonna fold his ace 4. Because I'm never bluffing when I 3-bet and under the gun open. So I keep his entire range in there. And when I do hit post-flop, I'm just hoping that he has a weaker ace here or some flush draw. If he ships in here, I'm snapping it off. I'm not afraid that if he hit pocket deuces and I lost the pot because I didn't 3-bet pre-flop, well, so be it. So be it. I mean, that's then the back. I mean, that's the draw back of not 3-betting ace king. Although a lot of the times a guy playing 21-13, I can see him calling even with pocket deuces if you 3-bet. The advantage is then you can say post flop he's gonna have to fold a lot when he doesn't hit his deuce, and when you see bet, and you're definitely right about this, but I make a lot of money doing this type of stuff. He calls, I bet again for value, setting it up so I can shove the river really easily. One side note here. Ace king, let's say the 5 of clubs comes off here, and he shoves his entire stack, or he bets like, yeah, when a passive guy would like, if the club comes off here and a passive guy donks into me like $3, I might consider folding, depending on what I've seen from him before. But in this case, it was easy. I got called by ace queen. And you can say, okay, but if you 3-bet pre-flop, he would have called pre-flop. You don't know. I mean, ace king. I mean, even if he has ace 4 here, I probably would have stacked off, thinking I am raising with a flush draw, stuff like this. Let's see. Ace king. Oh. Okay, I get 3-bet with ace king. Another thing that happens quite a lot. People often wonder, should I 4-bet? What if he 5-bet shoves? I usually do not 4-bet ace king unless it's blind versus blinds, or I have some game going on with my opponent. Here, look at the guy, he's playing 14-10, he's 3-betting my open. I am usually not 4-betting this guy. I'm definitely not shipping it in. If I 4-bet against this guy, he basically is only going to continue with aces and kings. And ace king. But even ace king is kind of weakish. Let's say some of his combinations of ace king is even going to fold. He's probably not even 3-betting ace king all the time. So you're up against aces, kings, queens, and a couple of combinations of ace king when you 4-bet here and he continues. So you're basically crushed. So I do make the call here. Folding here wouldn't be the worst, but well, it is 6 max, and I just play well post flop, so I make the call here. I hit one of the best flops I essentially can be hoping for. Another side note, let's say the flop comes ace, 7 deuce. I check to him, this guy bets, I would never raise them in that situation. Because essentially, again, the 14-10 guy is never going to get it in there with something weaker than ace king on an ace high flop after 3-bet and stuff like this. So I check to him, he bets full pot. I'm already saying, fuck, he's betting full pot, probably aces or kings a lot of the time, but queens is also a possibility. Queens, aces, kings. I have the flush draw. I have a gut shot. I have 2 overcards if he has queens. I'm not folding here when I do hit this in a 3-bet. Maybe I have some folding equity in the case that he was doing this with like pocket nines, something like this. Maybe I still have some folding equity, although pocket nines is not ever betting $2 here. Not like him is not betting $2 here with pocket nines. But calling here would be, I mean, a nit is never going to pay you off if a diamond rolls off on the turn. A lot of the time it's not going to pay you off when a diamond rolls off on the turn, so you're going to have quite some difficulty even getting the entire stack in when you merely call. So I just decide to shove and see what's going on. Obviously had aces, and I got lucky and I'm sorry, and hit the ace king. But this hand was to show you that against the 14-10 guy, I am pretty fine even with folding ace king pre-flop there when a really needy guy 3-bets you, and I would never 4-bet him essentially. Okay, let's see what hands I still have for you. Ace king suited on the button. Okay, on the button everybody thinks you're stealing, and lately a lot of the times guys will 3-bet you just light. So a lot of the times I will also not fold ace king. I will even a lot of times 4-bet or definitely at least make the call. But this guy is playing 12-11. It looks like I'm stealing. Let's take a check at his 3-bet percentage. Only 1 out of 25 times, so he never 3-bets. So basically, he's doing this for value only. So I'm curious what I do. I make the call. I have position. I have a decent hand. Again, it's the same situation as the previous hand here. If you fold here, it's kind of weakish because it looks a lot like you're stealing. But I would never 4-bet a guy 12-11 with ace king. I would rather, especially not ace kings suited. It plays pretty well easily. Flop comes 5-6, and there's another big advantage on these guys. I'm checking his stats. Flop, continuation bets. He continuation bets 100% of the time, this guy, and he folds to continuation bet 100% of the time, folds to bet 3 out of 3. This guy plays pretty straightforward. He's almost playing a body the game. When he checks here to me, I'm either thinking, nah, I should have bet this flop. Looking back at this, when he checks to me, he can still have, no, I think jacks would definitely make a bet here. His hand is like ace king here, like 95% of the time he has ace king. I check to him, I checked it back on the flop. I could have definitely made a bet there. I thought it was kind of weird that he didn't make the bet and maybe was trapping with aces. Although a guy playing 12-11 is not trapping with aces, especially not when he c-bets 100% of the time. So I should have bet the flop here. When he checks the turn, I'm pretty sure he has ace king and I can just steal the pot from him. Okay. Ace king I raise under the gun. Well, actually it's the hijack. I do get 3 bets. Come on, get some stand-up against a 31-21 guy. 3 bets pre-flop. He already 3-betted 3 out of 11 times. Here he's on the button. I'm guessing he's pretty loose, so wait, I'm just checking. I'm looking at the right guy. Yeah, I'm looking at the right guy. So I think 4-betting wouldn't be bad. Calling, I'm definitely not folding. Ace king suited. You can 4-bet, but a guy like this is going to 3-bet a lot of ace, jacks, ace, queens, king, queens, all this type of stuff. So a lot of the times I don't 4-bet ace king, because if you 4-bet, you're just folding out all the hands that they beat, because 4-betting at the microstakes doesn't happen a lot. I mean, really, how often do you 4-bet as a bluff? None, pretty much. That's what you should answer. So I made the call. Well, on this flop, I might, yeah, I could raise it. I could call. It's pretty similar to, I think I would raise it. And I do raise it, because it's really similar to one of these types where, of the first hand and the third hand that I just covered. It's the same situation. I kind of play ace king passively pre-flop, and then post-flop when I do hit it. The money is going in, and usually I'm pretty happy about it. He makes a call, and unfortunately enough, he shows up with ace 10. I mean, well, he hit 2 pair. That's unlucky. If I 4-bet, he probably folds ace 10 though. But that's not really what we are looking for. Him folding ace 10 when I have ace king. We're looking for situations where we dominate our opponent post-flop, because that's where a lot of your money, that's where most of your money at the microstakes is going to come from. Okay, this video is getting a little bit too long. Here, I do make a 3-bet versus another that can raise. Yeah, against the guy playing 40-20, well, no hands, but 5 hands is still, he played like 3, I probably have a reason here. The guy probably played a lot of hands. Lizov. I 3-bet him. Against really bad players, I will 3-bet ace king for value, because they're still gonna call you with ace jack. Flop comes ace, let's see how I played it. 6-6-8, I believe I still have the best hand at this point. I'm checking back, because I don't see any reason to bet. He's not folding any pair. He's not holding pocket 7s for 1 bet on this flop. So I check. I probably, he makes the bet here. He's doing this with anything, trying to steal it, so I'm not folding yet. Oh, that's interesting. I make a raise on the river. that's an interesting. I must have had some read on this guy. Make a raise on the river. I'm really representing not a lot. I'm representing like pocket eights when I'm doing this. Pocket tens now. Pocket tens with a c bet the flop. I'm representing like pocket eights with this, so I probably should have just made the call. Maybe he had something like pocket sevens and fold to the raising on the river, although I doubt it. When did I play this hand? In 2009. Okay, I made some pretty weird play here in 2009. Let's forget about it. That didn't make a lot of sense, but in those days people weren't really thinking that much. You could do a lot of weird stuff. Here, oh no, it's just me opening ace king. Somebody dunk posted. Basically, he dunk posted calls. Basically, I'm not folding ever here. Yeah, I play ace king aggressively post flop here. He dunk bets into me almost full pot. I raise him. He calls. 3 comes off. Basically, I'm putting him all in. I hope, yeah, that's a pot committing bet. And he shoves. And wait, what is this? You see people do weird stuff. He calls on the with 9-jack. He hit on the river bet. I mean, you can play ace king aggressively post flop and still get paid off a lot of the times by hands that you completely own, and you don't always have to 3-bet ace king post flop to get a big hand in, to build a big pot. Also, a lot of the times your hand is concealed when you play it a little bit less aggressive pre-flop ace king. What happens here? Here a button raises. Oh, I remember this one. It's actually from one of my videos. This one. Here I've been playing 44-38, really loose. So I'm pretty happy. Ace king. Doing it here. If he 4-bets, I'm happy shoving it in. I was 3-betting a lot in that video. It was one of my more aggressive videos that I made. 3-bet, 14%. Yeah. So basically, I'm not gonna go over this hand. I 3-bet. If he 4-bets, I was happy to get it in. That was the whole point. He made the call. Here I hit and I'm not folding. I see bet. He raised me. It's a king. I flop. I have his king. I called. He called. So basically, what I can say here is that he's called you with king 10 offsuit. But that's mainly because I was 3-betting him quite a lot. But if the flop comes like 4 king deuce, I'm probably getting a stack. He just got lucky now that he essentially 3-outered me. Okay. Ace king. Here I do make the 3-bet. It is cut off versus button. This looks bluffing. And the bluffer it looks, the more happy I am, because if I do get 4-bet, I'm a lot more relaxed to 5-bet shove. So I don't know what happens, and I do get 4-bet. I'm really happy here to 5-bet shove. If this guy was a 14-10 guy, I would be less inclined to 4-bet, to 3-bet. Because against 14-10 guys, you cannot outplay them. You can outplay them pre-flop by just bluffing them off. But ace king is way too good of a hand to be bluffing with, so and you can't do it for value against the guy who's playing 14-10. But against 24-24 guy who I've probably been 3-betting in that session before, from the button, it looks bluffy. I'm 3-betting here. He 4-bets me, as I told you. I would shove here. He calls, and I've shove here. He called me off. He called it off with 9, which basically is, yeah, I mean, a dumb play. I don't know. He's way behind my range when he's doing this, so he lost quite a bit of money there, but actually he didn't. I mean, he lost quite a lot of money because my range there is ace. When I 5-bet shove, it's like ace king, aces, kings, queens, and stuff like this, and jacks. So because I will 3-bet as a bluff, but I will rarely 5-bet shove as a bluff. Never, even at the micro stakes. I do, however, do it at higher stakes. Ace king here. What happened? I raise under the gun, a big blind. Oh, okay. I raise under the gun. Baal Moha. I have 630 hands. 3-bets me from the small blind. 24-19. But here I would not 4-bet because Baal Moha is rarely bluffing here. We're deep. I really don't want to get it in this deep with ace king. And my position and his position doesn't really say, hey, Colossos, I am bluffing. So I hope I just call here and try to limit the pot post flop, like play carefully post flop. But when I hit top 2, I am really not jumping up and down my seat, because if he has queens, he's never gonna pay me off. If he has aces and kings, I have a big problem. So I'm still gonna play this pretty slow. I also don't see any reason to raise here. If he has the flush draw, well, so be it. He c-bets, I decide to call him. I have top 2. Don't see much reason to raise here. Because a lot of his value range, I mean, I'm putting him on a good hand, like aces, kings, queens, and ace king. That's pretty much it. Turn is a really nice card. Hit the nuts. He continues to barrel. Okay, this takes itself. I'm never raising here. He bets pretty big here again. Now I'm pretty sure. Okay, so he doesn't have aces. He doesn't have ace king. He can have ace king, but that would be really weird. So basically, I'm putting him here on the bluff. There's really no reason to raise here, so I just call. And he ships in, and I'm spinning my chair here, instead calling it off. And he shows king jack. I was really surprised to see this hand. I very much expected to see something like pocket kings. I also don't understand why he ships in on the river. I mean, he's completely turning his hand into a bluff, and he is he's taking away, he's denying me the opportunity to bluff in the case that I would ever bluff there. So I also don't understand his 3-bet. So look at that. I would never ever 3-bet a guy who is decent. I don't know what he's thinking of me. Obviously, I've got hands on him, so probably he's got hands on me. I was playing pretty aggressive that session, 37-28. Lately, I've been playing a little bit more loose. 3-bets, yeah, 4 to 17%. Again, it's one of my looser, crazier sessions, but I'm doing pretty well actually with them. So he might have done that, but even then, he's rolling a big pot. He's rolling a pot with a hand that plays crappy post flop, king jack. If he had pocket deuces, I would have agreed a lot more. But king jack plays crappy post flop. He's out of position and we're deep. That's not a hand you want to play. King jack in that case. So I mean, he entirely played it wrong. But you can see that by merely calling pre-flop, again, I want to use the hands. If I 4-bet the ace king here, I'm screwed. I'm screwing myself over. A lot of the time you can say, okay, Colossos, you're lucky. Let's say the flop comes 7-6 deuce, and he c-bets with king jack, and you just have to check fold. But hey, I mean, that's life. I fold the best hand in a really small pot. Folding the best hand in a huge pot is is like awful. But folding the best hand in a really small pot isn't the worst case. A lot of the times, even let's say I am in the big blind and I have 7 deuce, and somebody limps in on from middle position. Small blind completes. Flop comes, I check. Flop comes 7, 5, I don't know, 3. A lot of the times I don't even dunk into these 2 people because chances are that you're gonna get called. And if somebody bets, let's say the small blind dunks into me, a lot of the time I'm folding. I'm probably folding the best hand, but it's just such a stupid small pot that I really do not care about it. Okay. Oh, I have more hands. Jesus Christ. Okay, one more. Ace king. Okay. Whenever a hand is moved away, and this is interesting. There's a short. Okay. Whenever a hand is like moved away, I am more inclined to squeeze. I'm more inclined to 3-bet because people think, okay, this guy is squeezing. I'm really particularly happy about this situation because we got a CVG short stack in there. What happens is if telling na Khan calls, look at my sizing, Sevilla, I allow him to have enough room to shove, and I can reopen the betting, and that would be a really great spot to trap the Lina Khan there. So I like my. Oh, we get a cold call from the big blind. That's interesting. 24-18. I didn't notice that. We get a cold call. So the hand is now moved away, but we hit the nuts essentially. Wondering why I picked this hand to show you guys. 240. I get called. The king comes off now. I'm especially jumping up and down my seat. And what happens is the guy shows ace queen. This is why you should never ever call 3-bets with ace queen. I mean, the only hand you're gonna get it in with is ace king, and you're gonna be beat. So his big problem here is calling a 3-bet out of position with ace queen. Nothing good can ever come from it. Okay, so this was. I hope you've learned something about how to play ace king. There's a lot to talk about, and you have to really view it on a case-by-case scenario because there's so many variables. But if you're like me and like to play post-flop and make sure that when the money goes in that you have the best of it, then you can do like me and not 4-bet ace king when you do get 3-bet, or not even always 3-bet ace king unless the guy is a donkey. I would 3-bet ace king, but like a 14-10 guy or even a 29-25 guy, I would be a lot more cautious about 3-betting ace king because your range is going to be really obvious when an ace or a king comes off and you continue in the hand. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the